for a guy who was so into science, logic, engineering, chemistry, like the hard sciences, he never could really get rid of
the dark side.
The dark side. And like he meets this guy, this English guy named Aleister Crowley, and kind of introduces him to this cult life. And they practiced the name of their cult was called Thelema, Thelema. When you read about what they believe, it's very similar to like The Secret. Like The Secret went like big, I feel like maybe 15, 20 years ago, where it's like, you know, you speak out your desires, you make like your vision boards, and you just say what you want. And if you really practice and focus on those things, the universe will deliver them to you. Okay, it's like positive affirmations, things like that. And the little slight difference with Thelema,
I feel like this is not going to be slight.
Versus
The Secret?
Thelema versus The Secret is that this was a sex cult.
Oh.
Okay, so they believed that the only time that it was effective to like have these like affirmations and these thoughts were right when you're about to come. So right as you're orgasming, you have to be like, I want a rocket to take me out of space right as you're coming. So they're having that because they're like, it opens up like this gate to the universe where you're like hyper pleasure. Your brain is flooded with these chemicals and you're like half there, half not. So like if you're in that state, in that moment, that's when you say, and you like basically they the research I did said they would like, some of it was just like affirmations. Other ones said that they were like saying spells, like cast like witch shit. You know, you could just picture them with like the glasses and the skinny tie, the white shirt with no sleeves, like one of those traditional like NASA looking guys, all buttoned up, crew neck, kind of like straight and narrow haircut, clocks out for the day, goes home and would host like these occult sex party orgy parties at his own house. And they would have all sorts of different people coming through, and his wife was like never really on board with the whole thing, but she left him after he was having one of these sex cult ritual things with her sister. And one guy that he becomes enamored with and friends with is L. Ron Hubbard. So L. Ron Hubbard, who, if that name is ringing a bell, he's the founder of Scientology. But before L. Ron Hubbard was like known for Scientology, he was I don't know about very successful, but he was a published science fiction writer. So Jack Parsons, who had been never really gave up his love for science fiction writing, knew who he was and started inviting him to all these different, to his sex cult orgy parties. And so L. Ron Hubbard was fucking into it, and he was into some of the teachings of like this law of attraction. And if you look at the writings and some journals and things like that by the guy Aleister Crowley, there's a lot of parallels between what Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons would say and preach in this Thelema thing and what L. Ron Hubbard eventually put into like the practices of Scientology. So they're saying like L. Ron Hubbard was deeply influenced by Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley. Eventually, time goes on. We're into like, I want to say it's like maybe 1949 now. JPL, like the people in charge of JPL, they find out. So now he's like, fuck, like I'm out of this, my baby. Calls up his old buddy, L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard had left California. He started a boat company down in Florida. So he's like, hey, yeah, why don't you come down? Like, we'll be partners on this thing. Just give me a $20,000 investment and we'll be good to go. And $20,000 back then is, a good chunk of money. And so he gives it to him. Moves down there with his then girlfriend, who I believe was his ex-wife's sister. L. Ron Hubbard, they have like a similar sex cult group down there. L. Ron Hubbard takes the $20,000, never repays him. And he also stole his girlfriend. He actually came down with multiple girlfriends. L. Ron Hubbard stole all of them. And then so they have like this big falling out, and he was working as a gas station attendant. And then he would work as like an explosive consultant for different Hollywood movie studios. So he was working on all these different things. He gets a call saying, hey, like we need your help on something. We need you to be down here right now. Like just grab the stuff from your lab and meet us at studio whatever. So he grabs all the stuff and blows himself up. All his chemicals blow up. He has all this like, facial damage, but he doesn't die like immediately. They rush him to the hospital and he dies like a few days later. And so at 37 years old, he only lived to be 37. And then it was like, well, that's rather suspicious because it's this guy who had all this knowledge, background, secrets, documents. There's like conspiracies around, well, did the government actually want him dead? His contributions to the American rocket program and JPL and NASA and everything else are like undeniable. Mm-hmm. Like he's like the guy, like the father of it all. It kind of all goes back and starts with him. And like, who knows if we ever land on the moon or have rockets like without him.